Thanks for tuning in to the Urban Scope podcast. I got another topic for you that I was randomly thinking about today and throughout this week. Just looking at football, and I was thinking about my top five quarterbacks of all time. Of course, this list is subjective, and everybody has their own probably top five. But I started watching football, NFL specifically, in 1999. So since I was about 12 up until now, so I've been watching football probably for close to over 25 years now. And I've seen a lot of quarterbacks and seen a lot of quarterback play. And I just have my own criteria for my top quarterbacks. And it's just not accolades, but it's what flaws the quarterback has and his unique ability that he brings to the game and excitement he brings. So I'll kind of go through and I have them in order from 5 all the way to 1. And I'll go through my list of quarterbacks, starting off with Patrick Mahomes at number 5. Like I said, I put him at number 5 because, like I said, he's still writing his name in the sand, and he's not cemented yet. So, like I said, he's still playing. So there's still a lot of career, knock on wood, that he has left to go. But at number 5 already, and he hasn't been in the league 10 years yet. It's pretty awesome. Already, he has 3 Super Bowl wins and 3 Super Bowl MVPs. And he has 2 league MVPs as well. So with Patrick Mahomes, I think his uniqueness, is grained in his early success and his early knowledge of the game. He kind of admitted when he got into the league from Texas Tech, he didn't really know how to read defenses or really even pay attention to it. He was just getting through on pure ability, which is pretty amazing, seeing that you couldn't read defenses really in college, and he was throwing for 700 yards here and 400 yards here and 300 yards here, being able to do that without reading defenses and still being pretty efficient at it. And, Mahomes can make any throw. They say he can throw the football 90, 80 yards, which is, always an asset when you're trying to win games and stuff like that. You don't use it often, but it's nice to have in your back pocket to know that I have a quarterback that can throw 80, 85 yards, 90 yards, and give the team a chance to win. And also, he makes other players better, which we didn't find out until the exit of Tyreek Hill. And after, he lost Tyreek Hill and had just Travis Kelce, he was making Juju Smith-Schuster better and Isaiah Pacheco better and Valdez Scantling and, all these, a slew of other receivers and running backs that we would have never known unless Mahomes, was able to help them be better players just by him being on the field and, players having to hone on him instead of them. So, and his ability to scramble outside the pocket and make plays off platform, kind of a similar to Aaron Rodgers. But then that kind of leads me to his flaws. I think sometimes he'll try to make any pass, and he's sometimes overconfident in his passes. He can think he can make any pass, and sometimes that puts the ball in harm's way. So I think that's one of the flaws that he has. And also, I think he's fixed it now, but he used to, most of the time when he was pressured in the pocket, he would turn his back to the defense to get away from a defender. But, they always teach you never want to go have your back to a defense, especially as a quarterback, because when you turn around, everything's going to be totally different. People are going to be all kind of out of whack, and, it can lead to turnovers and just, make the play just go all the way hectic. So that's one of the flaws, or the flaws that he had. But for overall, I think it's a pretty solid number 5. Number 4, as a quarterback, they kind of they compare Patrick Mahomes to is Aaron Rodgers, which I kind of begrudgingly added to my list. Like I said, he's a very talented player, but like I said, he has very noticeable flaws as far as, and then mostly not in his game, but just his personality. But he is a 4-time league MVP. He's won a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP back in 2011. And he's unique because of his throwing style. Like Mahomes, he can throw off platform. His footwork in the pocket, his footwork is way better than Mahomes in the pocket. The way he gets out of trouble, defenders can come around him and he can get out of it. But lately, he's kind of, deteriorated after the Achilles injury, but he's still pretty effective. His accuracy was always something people raved about. His touchdown interception ratio is very low. I think it was like 4-1. So for every 4 touchdowns he throws, he might throw 1 interception. But like I said, he had 400 touchdowns and not even 100 interceptions at one point in his career. So, and he was Mahomes before Mahomes. So a lot of Mahomes' DNA is strained with the Aaron Rodgers game. Like I said, the games are very similar, and like 2 of the only players I ever seen play like that at the pro level. But like I said, Aaron Rodgers' flaws is just he underachieved in the playoffs. He had a lot of number 1 seeds. He had a lot of high seeds, and got knocked out of the first and second round of the playoffs. And most people feel he should have way more than 1 Super Bowl ring. Mahomes has already surpassed him. Mahomes surpassed him, I think, his 3rd year in the league. But Mahomes is, like I said, on another level. But Aaron Rodgers grossly underachieved in the playoffs. And like I said, he always had a bad relationship with front office, specifically Green Bay Packers. He kept threatening to retire every year, and he would come back, and he would, go on these darkness. He went on a darkness retreat and the ayahuasca stuff. And like I said, he was just an overall diva. And like I said, he used to be one of my favorite quarterbacks, and to all this other stuff and all the drama that he caused and the COVID vaccination lies that he had. It's just a lot of different stuff. So, but yeah, he's still like my number 4 quarterback. Number 3 is Joe Montana, which I haven't seen much of him play. I just know of his legend and his uncanniness to win and being undefeated in the Super Bowl. Like I said, he won 4 Super Bowl rings and 3 MVPs. Never lost a Super Bowl and never threw an interception in the Super Bowl. But he was just unique because, like I said, he never lost a Super Bowl and he never threw an interception in the Super Bowl. It's just simple as that. His footwork was pretty good, and unlike any other quarterback on my list I'll talk about today, he is actually the only quarterback to actually win a national championship. Pretty much the only one that been ever close to it. So he was pretty much, like I said, nobody really had a bad thing to say about Joe Montana except for maybe he didn't have the best competition that he went against. He did have the Cowboys to deal with, but other than the Cowboys, once he got out of the NFC, it pretty much wasn't too much competition that he had. So that's the only thing really they say about Joe Montana as far as a quarterback is concerned. But most, like I said before, Tom Brady came along, Joe Montana was considered the greatest quarterback and in some odds the greatest player ever. So secondly, my second quarterback is Peyton Manning. So a lot of the younger kids might not know about Peyton Manning other than commercials and ads, but he was one of the best quarterbacks I ever seen. Hence why he's number 2 on my list. Like I said, he won two Super Bowls. He won a Super Bowl MVP, and he had 5 league MVPs. He had the most league MVPs in history. That's why they call him the sheriff. He was, like I said, I always loved that he had such command of the offense. I remember playing older versions of Madden, and they used to let you do the audibles, and I used to watch the games, and it was mimicking Peyton Manning. And I used to always say, like, man, why don't he just hike the ball? But he sees so much on the field, he's able to make the adjustments on the field. And as he's calling out these audibles, he's seeing stuff that other players aren't seeing. He's getting everybody in the right spot. He's like, the point guard of the offense. He's pretty much, omnipotent when it comes to the game of football, knowing where everyone's supposed to be, knowing where a defender is going to be. And he was so knowledgeable, and he used his mind, but not his physical gifts, because he wasn't really physical gifted. He didn't have the strongest arm. He wasn't the fastest. He wasn't the quickest, but he knew, like I said, his mind was faster than your body, so he can get the football out faster than when you can get to it. And he knew where you were supposed to be, but most importantly, knew where you weren't going to be. So, but that kind of led me to one of his flaws, because, like I said, he knew so much that the defenders can use it against them, but it only took a special skill set to do so. In a playoff game, I think it was a playoff game. Or maybe, yeah, it was a playoff game. So Ed Reed, Hall of Fame safety from the Baltimore Ravens, um, he watched film study on Peyton Manning and realized that he found a flaw, and he knew that Peyton Manning was expecting him to be at a certain spot. So he faked like he was going to go to that spot and went to another spot and threw an interception. And he kind of like tricked Peyton Manning out of, he tricked him out of his game, per se. Like he said, he used the film study against him, saying, all year Ed Reed specifically made a mistake on these plays, and he knew that Peyton Manning would see it. So when they got in that same formation, he was able to actually do what he was supposed to do on that play, and Peyton Manning expected something totally different, led to an interception. So, like I said, it takes a special skill set and a lot of film study to do that, which, Peyton Manning does a lot of film study, and sometimes being an overachiever, it can go against you in your way because people don't know you have a routine and know what to expect from you, so they can kind of use that against you if they're smart enough to do so. But like I said, his only flaw was that, and probably his mobility, and he also underachieved in the playoffs. He had a lot of number one seeds and exited the playoffs a lot earlier than most expected. But I want to say he was 3-0 against Tom Brady in the playoffs. But other than that, I think he was supposed to win way more rings than that. Like I say, he only got 2 Super Bowl rings, and the last Super Bowl ring was pretty much the Von Miller Super Bowl because Peyton Manning was at the end of his career, and he even got benched for Brock Osweiler earlier in that playoffs and early in the season. So we never thought we would see that. But, Peyton Manning's career going all the way back to 98 or 99, it was just untouchable, and what he was able to do in such a historical family full of quarterbacks. As you see there, his nephew Arch Manning is playing for Texas now. So, and lastly, I have my greatest quarterback of all time. It's a no-brainer, Tom Brady. 7 Super Bowl wins, 3 league MVPs, 5 Super Bowl MVPs. And 2 of those Super Bowls he won on, he lost to Eli Manning, which, could have easily went the other way. And if he won 9 of 10 Super Bowls, yeah, it would have been pretty much definitely a no-brainer. But, I became a fan of Tom Brady. I used to be a Peyton Manning fan, so it was kind of like you had to choose between Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. And I used to pick Peyton Manning, and I became a fan of Tom Brady after the Super Bowl against Atlanta when he was up 28-3 and was able to come back and win that Super Bowl. And I just knew at that point, I said, hey, you got to give it up to him. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. Most quarterbacks down 25 points in the third quarter of a Super Bowl will be packing it up, be done with it. Most coaches will probably pull people out of the game or try to give you another 5 or 10 minutes of the game and just, be done with it. But like I said, between him and Coach Belichick, they were able to claw back into that game, into overtime, and actually win the game. So that was a huge moment in his career. That was his moment that put him, I want to say, over the top. He already had 5 Super Bowls, I think, to that point, but that one put him over the top. And he was just unique because of his meticulousness, that's how you say it right, and his film study. Watching the Facebook documentary Tom versus Tom, it just kind of showed you a glimpse of his life and how he watched film study, and he works with quarterback coaches still to that day. After being in the league for about 15 years, I believe it was at that time. So it showed that he was so humble, even though he had all these accolades and, was known as, a good thrower of the great thrower of the football. He was still humble and trying to get better and trying to figure out every little piece to making sure that he did everything he can to ensure success for him and his team. And he was such a team player. There's not anybody who has a bad word or came out and had a bad word about Tom Brady. So just kudos to him for being able to be great for 20 plus years in the league and play that long. Most people say because of the rules, he was able to play longer, but I think his brain and his ability to win, he had the Jordan mentality as a quarterback. And like I said, no matter what, he was about to win. He wasn't about the accolades. Like I said, I believe he only had 2 All Pros in 20 years. It wasn't about the accolades. It was about winning the championship and not being able to go home early, which most quarterbacks, you know, like Aaron Rodgers, never grasp. And like I said, he was an overachiever as well, and he made players better. But being drafted in the 6th round, the 199th pick, and being able to be the best player ever in the league is just, unfathomable. Like I said, he got every bit, he overachieved, and, he well exceeded expectations and was able to uh, be so much greater than uh, just a starter. He turned into a whole nother, ever since Drew Brees got hurt and they inserted him in that game. And it was uphill from there. And like I say, he had the benefit of Coach Belichick, but you see how Belichick turned out when he left. So we know it was mostly Tom Brady. Like I said, I give Belichick a lot of credit for the defenses he put together, but the offense was pretty much Tom Brady and his genius. And most people, like I said, it was a debate about that for a long time. But Tom Brady, he had a good quote I liked. They were playing the Chiefs the year he beat Mahomes in the playoffs. Mahomes' first full year as a starter. And they asked him about playing in the cold because he was playing in Kansas City and it was cold weather. And he said, yeah, but the thing is, when it gets cold, their bodies slow down, but my mind doesn't. So he was basically saying, he felt fully confident. Like I said, it was a nail biter game, but he pulled the game out. And like I said, that was another great moment in his career to go on the road in Kansas City and win a playoff game. And his only flaws, like I said, is similar to Peyton Manning, was his mobility. And also, I think Tom Brady was a sore loser. A couple of times when he lost games, he didn't go out and shake players' hands and he would just leave off the court. But like I said, his will to win was so strong that he didn't understand the concept of losing, which, like I said, you got to still be a good sport. But nobody really cares about that in this game. It's about winning and, losses. You kind of have to be in your feeling about it. I'm not giving him justification, but just saying that, he was just that much of a winner. Michael Jordan was the same way. So tell me who you think your top 5 quarterbacks are. And thanks for tuning into another episode of Urban Scope Podcast.